The truth is you've been lied to. Releasing more music is not helping your music career, it's actually hurting it. And these very few stories of the artists that release a song every single week and that's how they blew up. That's like winning the lottery, all right? Did you know 80% of artists on Spotify have fewer than 50 monthly listeners? 50. And be honest, if you can post below how many songs you have out versus how many monthly listeners you have, post it as a comment below. My name's Chris, also known as the Artist Manifest. I have probably over 100 plus songs on Spotify, and I think we have about 500,000 monthly listeners. There was a time when I had 1 million monthly listeners, and that's when Spotify Discovery Mode just came out, and mine's dipped a little bit, and it's kind of set at that 500,000 monthly listener range, and that's just Spotify. We got millions more on YouTube and Apple Music, Deezer, etc., but I really want to focus on Spotify because that's where the majority of income comes for most artists. And I see this bad advice for artists about just wanting to release new music. And I get it too, because I want to release a new song every week or every few weeks because it makes me feel like I'm doing something. And I also just want to create. You know, I write a lot for TV and film, and so, we are able to make these songs and we want to put them out to the world. We want people to hear them. But I can't stand it when I don't get any listeners or I don't get much reach. And, I've built up an audience now. So we get at least 10,000 streams the very first day. But for a lot of you, you're trying to grow your music career. And you've maybe got 10 to 20 songs out there. And every time you release a song, if you're not growing, like serious exponential growth, and if you've got 1,000 to even 10,000 monthly listeners or less than that, anything you do marketing-wise, you should instantly be able to see an uptick in your streams and your monthly listeners. And so fans don't need, just another song. They don't need another good song. They need a smash. They need a great song. And I know maybe your songs are 2 years old, 3 years old. Maybe you went all in and you did an album and you produced it and got it out there. That's the story for some of my students. And maybe you hired a publicist and you spent a bunch of money on things and it didn't move the needle at all. And I've been there, okay? We spent 40 grand on a radio campaign and that song it hit the Billboard charts and it still hasn't even crossed 1 million streams, where we spent a fraction of that and other songs have just popped. And so what my challenge to you is press pause on releasing new music and take a look at the music that you've got out there. Take a look at the catalog, what you've released, and see which song is really hitting. And because maybe you don't even have a lot of data, you don't have a lot of streams to compare it to, you've just got to go with your gut possibly. You might barely have any streams on them, but maybe one of these songs, that's the one people really respond to live, or that's the one where people's eyes light up when you play for it for friends or family or other artists, and that's the one. Well, maybe that's the one you need to start promoting and running ads to, whether that's Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, Spotify ads, or maybe that's the one where you need to go and create a whole bunch of content for. And when I mean content, I think we need to tap into the master here, Mr. Beast, who says to YouTubers, go make 100 videos or go make 1,000 videos and then look at what you've got. And I'm definitely not telling you to make 1,000 songs. What I mean is make 100 posts on social media. That's the advice I gave to an artist that I was coaching today. As I said, look, we need those posts and we need the ones that you've posted that you haven't boosted to see which ones have done well organically. Which ones has the algorithm says, hey, that's working. And what I mean by algorithm, replace that with audience. Because again, let's tap into some Mr. Beast advice here. He's like, look, it's not that the algorithm didn't like that. The audience didn't like that. Because, the algorithm is made up of people that are viewing and watching your posts and saying like, save, share, skip. And if they're skipping and not watching and not sharing and not saving and not watching it again and again, well, then it's not going to share it out. But we want to look at the data and say, okay, these posts crushed it. But that means you need to get your shots up there, man. You need to get in the game. This person, I think only had 20 something posts, and we need to get hundreds out there and try stuff and try different stuff so that we can look at it and be like, okay, that's crushing it. Let's take that as an ad. Let's run it, or let's do more content like that. Okay, what's working, what's not. Stop doing what's not working and start doing what's working. And let's really promote this thing. Okay, now that we know what song is the hit, and if you don't want to promote it, you don't want to create organic content, jump on Playlist Push, jump on Submit Hub, jump on any of these places where you can hire social influencers and get them to make a whole bunch of content. And pull out your wallet and spend some money. But this is the problem. We're so good, and even me, we feel like spending money to make music. We can justify that. Going into the studio, it feels like we've done something. But then when nobody buys it and nobody streams it, does that feel real good? That doesn't feel real good, does it? No, it feels terrible. And so there's this balance, which I've found, where it's just like, okay, there's a part of me that's got to create, but there's also a part of me that has to market and get it out there. Because I can't stand it when I have a banging song and it hasn't gotten out there. And sometimes it doesn't pop for years. Like another one of our songs, a song called Light It Up, is just crushing it. It's got that fire emoji right now beside Instagram Reels and TikTok, because a lot of people are starting to use it. But it's been like years in the game. And the song has like about almost 4 million streams on Spotify, but it sometimes takes time. And what's wild is because it's working now and it's really crushing it, I'm leaning into it. What are you saying, Chris? I'm saying that I'm taking a song that's 2+ years old and I'm continuing to make content for it. I'm continuing to promote it. You know, it might be old to me. It might be old to the few fans. Like, for me to say that I'm known or people know I exist, like a lot of you have probably never heard of Manifest, okay? And I have 500,000 monthly listeners, and I could say, oh, I'm known for rock, or I'm known for hip hop, or known for TV and film. I'm not known. Nobody knows who I am, barely. I barely exist compared to the billions of people out there. And for me to say that, you know, I can't pivot, or I can't change, or I can't try something new, or my song's so old, like, it's like, who are we kidding here? Like, there's so many stories where, like, there's people at events that are super famous, and then there's somebody there interviewing them. They're like, yeah, so who are you again? And it turns out to be this super famous person. And it's because they're famous in their circle, but they're not famous in this other circle. And so that's why I want to encourage you, like, no one's heard of you, no one's heard of me, so that should give you the freedom to get out there and market your songs. They definitely haven't heard your songs. Like, if you got 50 monthly listeners or less, or 1,000, or even 100,000 monthly listeners less, there's so much growth, right? There's so much growth, and it can happen in such a quick period of time. Like, I'm telling you, when you turn on ads to go to a playlist, when you get a post that pops off, instant, like, just shoot. Like, and this is what I coach on every single week in our Fanbase University program. We have this program called Playlist Profits, where we go very step by step how to build a playlist, how to choose your song, how to run ads to it, and watching streams just like shoot. Like, one of our students in there, his second language is English. And so that's already a hurdle. And yet he's figuring out ads. He's an older dude, okay? He's not like a young, 20-something, whatever year old. I'm 45. I know I look like I'm in my 30s. Thank you very much. And he's crushing it. And so you can make your excuses and you can hold on to that and that's the reason you're not successful. Or you can get in the game and take your shot again. Like, maybe you got ripped off by a publicist. Maybe you got ripped off on a radio campaign like I did. You just didn't know. Well, are you going to say, okay, well, I'm just not going to market anymore. I'm not going to market my music. It's a waste of money. It's never a waste. It's an investment. And you can learn from people's mistakes. Like, that's why I hire coaches. That's why I call this smart music business, if you didn't know, because I've already made all the dumb decisions for you. I've spent over $1 million marketing my music in the last 20 years, easily over $1 million, right? Not including the labels' money, whatever they spent on me in the first few years when we were signed way back in the day, which I haven't been signed to a label since 2014. And I would never sign with a label again, The opportunity is so huge. So my challenge to you is to find a great song and market the crap out of it. Lean into it. And the challenge is not just for 3 days, not just for a week. I'm talking 30 to 90 days. Go hard. Go 30 days hard on one song. Then go 30 days on another song, on your old stuff. And don't create anything. Just hit pause. Sure, create, write some songs, but don't spend any money on any more producers or any more gear or any more clothes or wine or whiskey or beer or whatever it is you spend your money on, and put it in to your music career. and stop making excuses and get in the freaking game. There is opportunity. It is pennies for advertising. And the reason online advertising is so good is because you can start at $5 a day. You can hire influencers for $5, $10, right? And you can see what ads are working and what aren't. And then when they are working, you scale it. If it's not working, you try something different. And then you haven't spent that much money, right? And then you can scale up. But just do it. But you need to do it long enough and hard enough so that you get momentum, so you trigger the algorithm. I shared this in other videos where, you might pay for your first 1,000 streams that month, right? Like you've driven, and what I mean by that is like you've driven the traffic, you forced it to happen. And sure, you get like a little bit of trickle over, they listen to the other songs, right? But you paid for that. But then the algorithm kicks in, and now it's sharing it through the radio, Discover Weekly, and all the other algorithmic playlists. And now the first 1,000 you paid for, this other 1,000 is free, right? Because now Spotify is working for you. Like it's got some data to work with. Well, look at that on a more exponential level where you're like 10,000 streams you drove. And now it's sharing it for you 10,000 streams. Like I have songs where the algorithm is literally giving me tens of thousands of streams nonstop. But it's because I've promoted my songs long enough and hard enough. And I've had the courage to say, okay, and not the FOMO, because that's what it is. It's fear of missing out. It's like, okay, I'm not going to write for a little bit. It's marketing time. It's marketing time. It's album promotion cycle time. Like that's where they call it with labels too. And that's what I will hand it to the labels. Like they're good with cycles, right? There's a time where it's time to market. There's a time when the artist goes in the studio, right? And so there's times to market and tour and do all the promotion. And then there's times the artist is now back in the studio. But this world that we live in, it's like we're in the studio every day and we're afraid to put our marketing hat on, but you've got to. You've got to. God's called you to something great. I'm a Christian, and I just believe that, there's a purpose and there's a plan for your life. Like music has to be bigger than just trying to make money, or else you're not going to make it. The only reason I did this music in the first place is because I wanted to tell my friends about Jesus. I wanted to, stop people from suicide because my dad committed suicide when I was 5 years old, and I wanted to write music that would just impact people and provide hope and get them out of that dark place because music had got me in for that. And maybe you need to remind yourself, what is your why? Why did you get in this game in the first place? Because your why will help you go through those dark places when it's hard, when you're discouraged. Because I don't always feel it either. Sometimes I'm in this studio, I'm here, and I don't feel it. Sometimes I'm just tired. I need to go to sleep, I talk about, in my book, Fighter, 5 Keys to Conquering Fear and Reaching Your Dreams. Get this book. This shares the story about, when I had to conquer fear because I lost my dad to suicide. I had gone broke. We even signed with the label. That didn't work out. Then we finally blew up in Japan. Then we had radio success in Canada, then the US. But that was like years in the making. And it's just like, it's ups and downs. But a fighter isn't someone who never fails. A fighter is someone who never quits. And Proverbs 24:16 says, even though a righteous man has fallen down 7 times, they get up and go again. And maybe you've fallen down 7 times 7. Get up and go again. Keep chasing this dream. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I hope you join us on our next coaching call. Every Wednesday we meet. Just click the link below. It's Fanbase University is the program. You can cancel anytime, but step out. Get in the game.